Hello, grade 10, and welcome to your new lecture. Today, we're going to take our first writing lecture. We're going to learn how to write essays, but of course, before that, we're going to learn what an essay is, the parts of an essay, types of essays, and then you will write your own, of course. Now, what is an essay? An essay is a group of well-organized paragraphs talking about one main idea. Okay, parts of an essay, of course, there's the introduction, which is the first paragraph of the essay. And what goes in the introduction? We talked about this in 9th grade, but of course this year we're going to go into much more detail. The first sentence in an essay introduction is called a hook, and as you can see from the name, the word hook means to hook your reader, okay, and it's supposed to attract the reader's attention. Therefore, it should be catchy and attractive, of course. It could be a question, a sound effect, a figurative language, a shocking statement, a quote, or visualizing, any of those. Okay, let's take a look at the example here. Boom, boom, everything became dark as I lay there, half conscious, wondering what had hit me. A statement like this would arouse the reader's attention and make them want to read more. What type of hook I used here? What type of hook did I use here? I used a sound effect, and that is a very popular kind of hook. After that, you would start with your background information. Of course, the following sentences are general knowledge about your topic and are given to are written, of course, to give background information to the reader. Don't ever go into details, please, in your introduction. Just give background information about what you're going to talk about. The thesis statement, this is generally the last sentence of the introduction and holds the main idea of the essay. Let's say the essay was about the effects of light pollution on nocturnal species. And the word nocturnal means active at night. Okay, active at night, like the bats, for example, or turtles who travel at night, or when turtles hatch, they hatch at night, so the light pollution will sort of distort their activity. This would be the thesis statement. Light pollution, especially in major cities, has major effects on nocturnal species by disrupting their activity, interfering with their reproduction, and reducing their population. So this is the main idea of my whole essay, divided into three main points. How light pollution affects species. Disrupting their activity, obviously that's going to be one body paragraph. Interfering with their reproduction, second body paragraph. And finally, reducing their population, third body paragraph. And then I write my population. Of course, as you know by now, in grade 10, our essays are made of 5 paragraphs. An introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and one, of course, and the conclusion. Now let's go back to the hooks. As we said, this is the initial statement or the first sentence in your whole essay, and it needs to be catchy and attractive. Interesting thought. I wonder what it would be like to float in space. Okay? Strange but true fact, one of the propellers on the Queen Mary weighs 17 tons. Or a general statement or a figurative language like boom, boom, okay? A sound effect or a question. Have you experienced the thrill of Disneyland's Hyperspace Mountain? Or you may ask something about, of course, if you're writing something about pollution, do you know that 75% of people who live in Beijing suffer from diseases related to air pollution? Okay, question mark. This is a hook. Okay, background information right after your first sentence. It's the information your reader needs to know about the topic you're writing. It needs to be related to the hook, of course. It should not, however, contain any details, just general ideas about the topic. No details at all. Finally, we come to the thesis statement. You should write it in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. You should write it as the last sentence in your introduction. Now, the points here. The thesis statement is the main idea of your whole essay. The body paragraphs will all relate back to it. Each body paragraph will discuss one part of your thesis, and as you saw, it was divided into 3 main points. Each body paragraph will discuss one idea related to the thesis. A thesis statement is a statement and should not be written in question form. Of course, you took this in the previous grade. A statement is a sentence that ends with a full stop. It is not at all a question. Many students write a thesis as a question, but that is not accurate. And as this lady here says, the thesis statement is the essay's big idea. Everything relates back to it. Now, the body paragraph. The body paragraphs are the paragraphs following the introduction. Each essay can contain as many paragraphs as necessary. But in 10th grade, our essays are usually made of 3 body paragraphs. The job of the body paragraphs is to give supporting evidence and or details to the thesis statement. Each body paragraph, of course, needs 1, a topic sentence, which is the main idea of this paragraph you're writing. For example, my first body paragraph, too much light produced in cities can disrupt the activity of nocturnal species such as sea turtles, full stop. So what am I going to write in this first body paragraph? About how this light pollution will affect the activity of nocturnal species, of nocturnal sea turtles. When they hatch from the eggs, they usually go to the direction of the moon, okay? But they just hatch, let's say that they're in a city like let's say Los Angeles. They see the lights, they think it's the moon, so they go towards the city. What happens to these hatchlings, these small beings? They, of course, they die. They do not survive. So that's what the details you're going to write in this first body paragraph. Supporting details, okay? And the concluding sentence wraps up the paragraph and restates the main idea. Now the conclusion. The conclusion needs to do at least 2 of 3 things. Thesis, restate your thesis using synonyms. Of course, you have to restate it in a different form. You have to put your opinion. You should put your opinion in the conclusion. If it's an expository essay, of course, you cannot write your opinion in the body paragraphs, but in the conclusion, this is your free space. You summarize the main idea. First of all, you restate the thesis in different words. You summarize the main idea of the whole essay in 1-2 sentences maximum. And finally, you leave the reader with a recommendation, a suggestion, a prediction, a call for action. A call for action like governments and NGOs should make a larger effort in solving the issue of beach pollution in Lebanon. Okay, you're making here a call for action. Someone needs to do something. But above all, please do not write "I advise you to," because that has become a sort of a cliche and a weak sentence. Okay? So governments should, NGOs should. NGOs are non-governmental organizations. The Ministry of the Environment should or could. Okay? So now I wrote a sample essay for you, and of course our main theme is what's going on today in the world, COVID-19. This in front of you is the introduction. UNDP response to COVID-19. UNDP is the branch of the UN that works on developing nations, especially nations of who have weak economies. Let's begin. Of course, the first sentence in red is your hook. This is not a body paragraph. This is your introduction. The first sentence is a hook. The coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic is a disease that is contagious and spreads very fast across nations. The coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic is the defining global health crisis of our time and the greatest challenge we have faced since World War II. Full stop. Now, why is that sentence a good hook? Because I wrote an interesting statement here, an interesting fact. It is the greatest challenge we have faced since World War II, so that is supposed to grab the reader's attention. Now, my background information, not the details, just the background information. Since its emergence in Asia late last year, the virus has spread to every continent except Antarctica. But the pandemic is much more than a health crisis. It's also an unprecedented socio-economic crisis. Socio-economic means it affects society and if it affects the economy. Crisis, of course, is a huge issue, a problem. Stressing every one of the countries it touches, it has the potential to create devastating, meaning destructive, social, economic, and political effects that will leave deep and long-standing scars. Now, my thesis statement. What am I going to discuss in the body paragraphs? What is this essay about? UNDP, or the United Nations Development Programme, is the technical lead in the UN's socio-economic recovery alongside the health response led by WHO, of course, World Health Organization, and the Global Humanitarian Response Plan, and working under the leadership of the UN resident coordinators. So this essay is going to talk about how UNDP, this branch of the United Nations, is helping nations or countries deal with COVID-19. Okay? First body paragraph, as you see here. This is my topic sentence. Every day people are losing jobs and income with no way of knowing when normality will return, when normal life will return, as is happening to us. We have no idea when we will go back to our classes and have a normal life, social life, economic life. So, when I say every day people are losing jobs and income with no way of knowing when normality will return, here in the body paragraph, I'm going to discuss how COVID has affected people's jobs and income. Income means what you get when you do a certain job. Small island nations heavily dependent on tourism have empty hotels and deserted beaches. Deserted means no one is there. The International Labour Organization estimates that 195 million jobs could be lost. The World Bank expects a $110 billion decline in remittances this year, which could mean 800 million people will not be able to meet their basic needs. So this is how COVID affected people's jobs and incomes. Second body paragraph, topic sentence. Every country needs to act immediately to prepare, respond, and recover. How countries should act. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has started a $2 billion global humanitarian response plan in the most vulnerable areas. Developing countries could lose at least 220 billion US dollars in income, and the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development has called for a $2.5 trillion US dollars to support them. Okay, so this is what the UNDP is doing in order to support nations that are affected. Moving on. Drawing on experience with other outbreaks such as Ebola, HIV, SARS, TB. TB means tuberculosis, a dangerous infectious disease in the lungs where people cough blood and it could be deadly. And malaria is a disease that happens in Africa. whose source is mosquitoes, also could be deadly, as well as our long history of working with the private and public sector. UNDP will help countries to urgently and effectively respond to COVID 19 as part of its mission to eradicate poverty. Eradicate means wipe out, reduce inequalities, and build resilience to crises and shocks. Obviously, so this paragraph is going to talk about how UNDP is going to help. We are already hard at work together with our UN family and other partners on three immediate priorities: supporting the health response, including the procurement and supply of essential health products under WHO's leadership, strengthening crisis management and response, and addressing critical social and economic impacts, says UNDP Administrator Achim Steiner. Finally, the next phase of UNDP's COVID 19 crisis response is designed to help decision makers look beyond recovery towards 2030, making choices and managing complexity and uncertainty in four main areas: governance, social protection, green economy. A green economy is an economy that does not affect the environment, does not pollute, and digital disruption. It encompasses our role in technically leading the UN's socio-economic response. So this is my conclusion. Obviously, the conclusion did three things before we wrap up. The conclusion, of course, restated the main idea of the text, summarized and gave an outlook of what should be done, a recommendation, okay? Governance, a complexity, okay? The next phase of UNDP's COVID 19 crisis response is designed to help decision makers look beyond recovery. What should be done? Okay, in four main areas: governance, how to govern your people, protecting the people, green economy, and digital disruption. So this is it, guys. This is how an essay should be written. Of course, I have uploaded a worksheet, a very detailed worksheet to the app. Those need to be studied, and the next time we are going to write our own essay. So I hope you guys are staying safe, and see you soon until we meet next time. Bye bye.